Hi everyone, it's Fumu. Sorry I've been kind of silent as of late in regards to content, whether it's my stream or for Final Fantasy TCG. As my work schedule kind of shifts around, I've been trying to figure out kind of how best to approach my content creation that I want to do, and it's still been in the works. So, but Opus 9 just recently released for Final Fantasy trading card game. And that means dumb deck ideas from me. So these are kind of these are going to be aiming for like more budget builds, mainly because they are not really intended to be played in the meta, but it's a fun idea to kind of go off of, and I wanted to share some of those. So this first one that we have here is Earthfire 10. Now, this deck list is something that could totally have been around in Opus 7. I'm surprised I didn't poke around with it earlier, mainly because I really enjoyed the LeBlanc trio. But really what kind of made the deck was Auron from Opus 7. Where, you know, you're giving all of your Category 10 forwards Brave. Now, LeBlanc already has Brave, sure, but Ormi and Logos did not. So giving these guys the opportunity to have Brave just makes them a bit more of a threat and might help them out in the long run. So I'm really going to definitely poke around with this and see how it goes. Just on the casual level, I highly doubt it's going to be able to stand up against much of the meta these days, mainly just because of removal. But you do have a lot of ways to get things back. So let's kind of get into it, and we'll see kind of thoughts. Feel free to leave any comments below or any thoughts in regards to the deck and how we could improve it. So, of course, to start things off, your main focus of the deck is your LeBlanc trio. So you got 3 of LeBlanc, who has the opportunity to pitch an Ormi or Logos to the break zone from the field to not be broken this turn just by doubling LeBlanc. So you can, you'll obviously need the fuel for that, so you have Ormi and you have Logos at 3 as well. And then we have kind of our other main components of this deck to help support those guys. So Auron, of course, was our idea for the deck to give everyone Brave, so we got him at 3. Now, the general focus of this deck is like about 15 cards in this deck are Fire, so it's more the support side for what Fire is going to do. We are still going to be focusing a lot on Earth because that's who our main beaters are. But we've got some ways to help our Fire dudes out as well. So, we've got Auron in there. We've also got Lise. So Lise is not only going to help all your forwards, but we've got other mechanics in here that are just specifically helping the Earth side. So this is going to help with your Fire side. You're going to give 1,000 power to everyone else aside from Lise unless you're on the ropes, and then it's a 2k pump to everybody. And Lisa's generally could be ran at a 2 if you're not worried about Dragon Kick, but I did put it at a 3 for the sake of the special ability. Having an 8k shot at something is never bad. You get to take out an on-curve 4-drop, so that could be someone important, and it could help in the long run. So we've got Lisa at 3 mainly because of Dragon Kick. You could absolutely run that at 2 if you're not worried about the special ability and more worried about the support aspect and need that slot elsewhere. So I think that's all of the 3s. Into kind of the 2-ofs, which are more of your supports on forwards here. We have Ingus, who's going to be pumping all of our Earth dudes. One of the things that I enjoyed the most about running the LeBlanc trio is with Inakuro and Ingus out on the field, and Ormi and Logos, so, you know, a really good board state. You're going to have that LeBlanc at a 14k, which is massive and unnecessary, but it's hilarious. So, enjoy that. Ingus is there to help, and if you need it, you've got that +2 pump doll ability to help out if it's needed anywhere. So, Ingus is always a good pick if you're running mono Earth, or, you know, majority Earth in this case. Lil T is one of the new Opus 9 cards, which I actually think she's going to be pretty darn good. On her own, she's an on-curve 3-drop who, when she blocks, she's going to add a forward back to your hand, so we're really looking at the recursion. Be able to get Ormi, be able to get Logos, hell, if we need to, get LeBlanc back. Just kind of get our support and focuses back on the field should they be taken out by other means. From playing the LeBlanc trio, I did notice that people did target Ormi and Logos more so than LeBlanc because they knew that I could just simply pitch an Ormi or Logos to save LeBlanc. So they would generally focus on the small dudes instead of the big gal. So Lilty's in there to kind of help get those guys back who I know are going to be targeted. And with Inacro and Ingus on the field, Lilty's a massive 9k blocker, which is fantastic. Fantastic. Let's see, other support cards. Gipple is in here mainly because of 10, but when Gipple's coming in, that's not a bad effect at all. You have a +4 power, I'm sorry, 4,000 power across the board. So that can make for a very, very aggressive turn. And it helps, like, say if you just have LeBlanc down and you don't have the Ormi or Logos out, and you need to threaten a turn to get over one of your opponent's dudes, Gipple can help make that gap, or bridge that gap. It immediately makes LeBlanc a 12k on her own, and then you just have that 12k who can swing in with Brave. That's pretty massive. So Gipple's in here mainly because he'll benefit from the Brave for an Auron, but also because that plus 4,000 power across the board is really darn good. This could absolutely be something else if you're not digging that tech, but focus for something that's going to help support your bros, because that's kind of what this slot is for. One of the other support slots as a 2 of is the new Heretical Knight Garland. Mainly because when we take something out, he's going to become a 2-drop 8k, which is pretty darn good. I'm really excited to play this guy. He's definitely a flex spot. Feel free to poke around with other cards if you're going to build this deck. If you don't have Heretical Knight Garland, maybe look at another boss card. The Gabrants, various Gabrants in the game are very, very fun to poke around with. And just in general, this one sounds like it'll be fun. You could do a 6k spread across the board, which takes care of one of the things that I struggled with in Earth, which is not having enough spread damage. So it's a way for you to be able to take out Vikings. We might need some side strats outside of Heretical Knight Garland for Viking, but we'll kind of get into that, into what could be ran if you want to, or if you notice in your locals Vikings are commonly ran, stuff like that. So, but poking around with this guy, like I said, you could absolutely have him as something else. There's a lot of options out there for your 5-drops. Run what you got, what you enjoy, because that's what this slot is all about. I originally did have this as the 5-drop Jekt, but I was focusing more on the Earth side, so you could absolutely run Jekt in this slot because he's a 5-drop boss card. So definitely an option here. Into the summons, we have our Hecaton chairs at 3, mainly because this version of Hecaton chair is a great removal option. We're going to be building some big numbers on our side of the board, so we want to be able to utilize that for some removal. Hecaton chair is going to help out with that. So really, really awesome ability to kind of just exchange. And this is also an answer to Y'shtola, because when you cast it, the forward is dealing the damage to Y'shtola, not the summon. So it's a nice answer around that. However, they could just sack Y'shtola to cancel it, but oh no. Either way, we're taking out Y'shtola. So, really, really nice option, even if Y'shtola is not on the field. We've got some ways to cheese out that effect, so really, really cool. Bahamut is in here mainly as a Hecaton chair answer. I'm sorry, not Hecaton chair, Veritas. Veritas of the Dark. If you take out Veritas with this Bahamut, it doesn't benefit from the effect to have you break a character, because it's not going to the break zone, you're banishing it. So that's kind of mainly the reason why I put that in here. Now, if you're not running into Veritas of the Dark in your locals, one, you're lucky, because that card sucks to fight against. Or, say you're not concerned about Veritas, and you're saying, well, I'm just sacking my Ormies for it, then, you know, let's go with, I would actually look at Ifrita. Not trying to meet Ifrita's Ifrit condition, because that's going to be really, really hard to reach, but more as a modal summon. Having another option to take out Vikings if need be is pretty solid, so that 3k spread is definitely not anything to kind of downplay. And the 7k shot, if you need it, is pretty nice too. It kind of stinks it's not an EX burst, but I don't think any of those modal summons are EX burst, thank God. So, yeah, this could be Bahamut if you're running into Veritas. If you're running more into Vikings, you know, you could look at a Frida. If you're running into both, good God, you have some meta players in your scene. That sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. But it kind of depends on what matters more to you, because I'm not sure if I'd change anything else as far as the summon lineup. So let's get into the other summons as well. Titan is mainly here for an EX burst opportunity, but if you get to hardcast it, it's still really good. You know, you get a plus 2k to someone in a one-way shot. It's really nice removal. But ideally we don't want to hardcast this because it's a little on the pricey side as far as summons go. So try to find an opportunity to, well, you can't really line up your EX burst, but at least not in this deck. There's other decks that can manipulate that. But just hope you hit an EX burst, otherwise, you know, it's not terrible to hardcast. It's just not ideal. Phoenix is in here, of course, for the recursion. We're able to get our Lease back, our Logos back, our Lil T back, Ingus, or an Ormi alongside an 8k shot, so that's pretty darn good. Obviously, your best options here are probably Lease, Ingus, and Logos in that order, because they're benefiting other forwards on the field. They're kind of that support option. So in response to someone attacking, you could go ahead and cast this Phoenix if you have that in hand and the available, you know, resources. Take out the dude who's attacking, probably, and then get this booster back on the field to boost all your other dudes ready for the next swing that may have been coming in. So Phoenix is really, really good. You could cut this down to a 1-of if you need the slot somewhere else. But at least having that 1 is pretty good. You just hate to see this hit damage and not benefit from it, so that's why it's at 2. So yeah, that's our summons here. Into backups. I'll be honest, the 2-drop backups in this were kind of hard to come and decision on, because when I play Mono Earth, it's like I generally look at it as an anti-element card. So like this first option we have is Black Mage, who is an anti-ice, anti-lightning card. It's preventing your dudes from becoming dull by opponent summons or abilities, which is the effect that Guy has, and also a version of Yang has as well. So giving this to anyone just kind of helps flex against those 2 elements of lightning and ice. And it just helps if, like, say you don't have the Brave online for Logos or Ormi, and you feel like the dudes are just going to get dulled down. Or if you need to keep that LeBlanc up because it's your biggest dude and they're just going to try to dull it so they can deal with your other smaller dudes, Black Mage is your way to kind of benefit from that. One of the other cheese plays that I've done with this too is I've actually targeted an opponent to Lua to pop the bubble. So it doesn't have to be a forward you control, it's any forward on the field. So keep that in mind if you need to, if you're looking at a board that has an Lua on it and you're trying to get rid of it and you need something to pop that bubble, because this is a fantastic cheap way to do it. Dogo's in here as an anti-break, which, you know, actually kind of plays a little bit into ice against the Sid Alstein effect. It plays into lightning, of course. It could play into your anti-earth as well for those who are trying to break dull forwards. But just in general, it's trying to stop a break, even if it's against, say, Mono Wind FFCC. You know, Yuri Chelinka combo is going to be doing an auto break effect on party attack, so your Doga could be your answer against that, at least for 1 turn. So that's pretty neat. Now, what's kind of hilarious too is LeBlanc could be boosted all the way to 15k and not only prevent a break, but block both Yuri and Yuri Chelinka come in at, I think, a higher number, because Yuri's 8k dealing 9, Chelinka is 7k dealing 8, so that's 9 plus 8 is 17,000. Okay, so yeah, you wouldn't be able to block it unless you had some other tech coming in. So anyway, so Doga's in there as an anti-break. It does come in handy. Otherwise, you know, it's your tap ability on your back row. Could also help save your Heretical Knight Garland against Diabolos, I guess? Maybe? There's options. Definitely options. Lael is in there because Famfrit sucks. And you want ways to be able to deal with Famfrit when it's annoying the crap out of you. and this is one of those ways to do it. So, Lael is a fantastic option that came in Opus 8. Highly recommend it. Run it at 2. Moving on. Lulu is a way to help with our sticky backups that just kind of enter the field and do their effect and then they're done for, which is really going to be kind of our later option. So like Meath is going to be one of those, Raban is going to be one of those, and Agito is going to be one of those. So it kind of helps free up a slot on your back row if need be. And it's a fire option, it's a 2-drop, and you're getting that 7k damage shot. The 7k damage shot is optional. You do not have to put a back up into the break zone when Lulu is played. So if you just need a fire backup, it feels bad, man, that you can't use the full effect, but at least you're getting a 2-drop fire backup on your back row. So it works. Meath is in there because we're running a lot of the same numbers. You know, we're running a lot of 4s, we're running a lot of 3s. So if you get something in hand that you don't exactly need, Meath is going to help with that and get that out of hand to maybe make it something useful. So it's like, yeah, I've already got a loyalty down. Let's make this into a lease real fast. Or, you know, I've got a Gipple in hand and I really need an Oron right now before I go into swing on this turn. Let's search for that real fast. So it's not very CP efficient because you're essentially pitching. Let's see, you're paying the 2 to play the Meath. You're paying another 2 for the card that you dropped for the search, and then you're getting a card back. So it's still, you know, you're still paying 2 for Meath overall. So you'd have to have cards. Let's see, you'd have the 3 in hand, or let's say you can pay with backups for Meath. So you have at least 2 cards in hand, 2 more in hand. You pitch one of those cards to turn into a 4-drop, so let's say a Gipple into LeBlanc for the sake of example, and then you'd pitch those 2 cards to play LeBlanc. Like, you've discarded a lot of your hand, which kind of stinks, but Meath is really going to be nice to getting those key components of your deck if needed, so that's why it's in here. I'm not the biggest fan of Meath out there, but it's helpful tech if needed. So if you don't need it, well, Meath is a free 2 CP, so feel free to pitch it. Ninja's in here for the anti-block tech. You could absolutely look at the other versions out there, like Red Mage from Opus 1, Yotsuo from Opus 8. It's just this is a one-time use, and generally if I'm going to use Ninja, it's to close out a game. Because I know it's going to the break zone, and I need to be able to get stuff in and around one dude. Well, if they've only got one dude left, this kind of closes out the game real fast. Inacro is in here to mainly help the Earth forwards, obviously, because that's all it's boosting. But as you can see from our Earth lineup, all but 6 of our forward cards are Earth. So it's mainly going to benefit everybody. So that's why I kind of aim to have this in here. If you're not big on it, look at some other options. 3-drop dudes. Momodi's not bad. Yeah, you'd really have to look at your options. Momodi would be another way to have Brave additionally on your back row. But there are definitely some other Earth backups that you could run that are your 3-drop slots. You just have to kind of look at your various options out there. Kind of looking through my Opus 9 stack right now. Bonga, who is technically a 2 CP, but you have to pay 3 CP to get his effect off, wouldn't be bad because you're getting an Earth character out of your break zone. Let's see. Class 5th Moogle, which is a 1k pump to an Earth forward. Really, I wouldn't recommend that over in a Crow, so let's actually skip over that. Don't know why I mentioned it. Let's see. Not really seeing anything in my Opus 9 stack right now that kind of jumps out to me in Earth. So you'd have to kind of look at your options, see what you think. But I think Inacro is actually a very good option here because you're benefiting all of your Earth forwards who can really just use that 1k pump to make them that much more of a threat. Ormy is a little dinky 5k. Come on, 6k, he's on the edge of his on-curveness. But if you've got Logos down, then he's going to be able to benefit from that +2 from Logos. So now he's a 2-drop 8k, which is pretty value. And, you know, it makes this Heretical Knight Garland on curve for 5-drop 9k. You got LeBlanc getting that for 4-drop 9k, which is now above curve. There are various options, obviously a lot. That 1k makes all the difference for your Earth forward. So recommend keeping this as an Inacro, but, you know, you do you. So Sid Garland is mainly poking around with him he's a really good card, and I really like the sound of him in Mono Earth. The reason why I have them in here is generally poking around, to be honest, because this replaced Minfilia just to try to see how it works in that combination of a 2 minor, 1 Sig Garland. It also kind of plays into the fact that this was aiming to be a budget deck, and Minfilia is, you know, it's more expensive than a rare. You know, let's put it on that logic. So we don't want to have too many expensive cards in this deck if folks are trying to, you know, build a budget build. So that's why Sig Garland's in here over Minfilia. Both of them are effectively 2 CP, and I would probably run the Minfilia over Sig Garland because it's going to be able to grab characters in general, where Sig can only grab a 1 Earth character from your deck and not your break zone. But Sid does have that break effect to restore a 14 character in your break zone back to your hand, and our best option for that is Minor. Minfilia is probably a little bit better because not only can you pick a Minor, but you get to pick something else. And they're both still that effective 2 CP. So if you have the Minfilias from Opus 6, run them over the Sig Garland spot. I just have it in here for the sake of budget build. But Sig Garland is excellent tech coming in. It's really going to help Scions. It's going to be really, really good for Scions. But also just Mono Earth in general, I think, because a lot of Mono Earth is Category 14. You get your Rabons back. You get, oh gosh, what other 14 tech is out there? I mean, just in general, what came to mind was Minor and Minfilia, because they're both Category 14. So anyway, a lot of options. I think it's a great card. Run Minfilia over it if you get it. Minor's in here because it's one of the best frickin' Earth supports out there. Restore a backup to your hand from the break zone, so you get any of your breakables back, whether it's Sig Garland, whether it's Ninja, whether it's Lael, whether it's Doga, whether it's Black Mage. You get all of those options back, which is fantastic. Or maybe it was a dude that you pitch for CP that you could use. Minor's effectively 2 CP when you play it, so it's darn good. And then obviously his break effect to restore forward back to your hand is pretty darn good too, and it's another way to recur Ormi, Logos, and LeBlanc for our main trio. Rabon is in here over the forward Rabon mainly because it's a backup resource, it's a one-way shot, and it's cheesing out the high powers that we are aiming for with Rabon, or I'm sorry, just with the deck in general. You know, LeBlanc being pretty big. Gipple, when he comes in, he's going to be pretty massive. You just need to make sure you have all that resource available. So there's going to be ways to cheese it out for sure. But Rabon is fantastic for that one-way shot. So say like you do a main phase 2 play with this, you've blocked someone with Oron or anyone else and made them like 9k, and you have this in hand, you have the resources down, you can take out their forward that still remains on their board. After the power boost comes through from Oron, they're keeping that power until end of turn, so you could easily cheese out this one-way shot with Rabon. You know, just kind of a combat option, so keep it in mind. Agito Margito is actually just in here for the sake of either free casting a Phoenix, or effectively casting a Phoenix for 5, or restoring the 2 summons from your break zone. Hecaton chairs are pretty gosh darn important to Earth's removal, so getting those back is never bad. And say you need that Bahamut back to try to take out one of your opponent's dudes again and banish it again, then you have a way to get that Bahamut back through Agito. So that's mainly why she's in here, for either restoring the 2 summons from your break zone or casting a summon for free. There are other options in the game to do the summon recursion. There's a 2-drop summoner that it's a 2-drop, and then you pay 2 and break it to restore a summon back to your hand, which you can do in response to things, which is incredibly fun tech, and I poke around with it in my Mono Earth. I love it because I play some really cheap summons, so I could just bring back a Cockatrice, I could bring back a Opus 1 Golem. Hell, if I really want to, I guess Titan. You know, there's going to be a lot of options for that combat trick, which Agito can't do, but Agito is going to help in this deck because it's a sticky backup. which we don't want to make too many breakables. And it's going to be able to bring back 2 of those summons if needed, back to your hand. So, yeah, that's essentially Earthfire 10. This is a deck that I haven't put any monsters in, but there's a lot of options that you could do, depending on what you're running into. I do love monster tech, but it just didn't fit in this deck, so couldn't really find a slot. But that's Earthfire 10. Like I said, it's a budget build. It's meant for casual play. Really don't know how it's going to do, but feel free to leave me some comments on how to improve this deck. If you end up running it and if you end up liking it, certainly let me know. It was just kind of a dumb idea that I kind of threw together. But I will bring some more dumb deck ideas for you here in the near future. I built quite a few for Opus 9. Some of them aren't actually dumb, but some of them are also kind of looking at what tech I've decided to poke around with at the start of Opus 9 for my main 4 decks. Still trying to figure out what to do with some of them, but we'll get there. But anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for watching. Feel free to drop a subscribe. I'm really doing this content creation just for fun, so I'm not really expecting much out of it. But we're just having some fun. We're just sharing some deck ideas. Play Final Fantasy TCG, play Pokken Tournament DX. Both are great games, and those are the 2 main games I play. So, alright guys, catch you later.